like, so how much did you guys like eat when you were getting strong? It was like, well, we ate until we were full.
Right.
And then we'd take a little break until we weren't full, and then you keep eating until you're full again.
Mm-hmm.
And full means not just like, oh, I'm not hungry anymore. It means I'm very uncomfortable.
Perfect.
And then you're doing it right. And I think every person that's strong in this world probably has a similar story to the fact that you eat as much as you possibly can until you're uncomfortable. You eat a little bit more so you're really uncomfortable, and then you do it again an hour and a half
try
later.
Not to throw up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was told growing up. Like in high school, playing high school football, college football, you're supposed to eat until you're ready to throw up, wait for the feeling to go away, and then just do it again.
Yep.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
Our strength coach in college is Mike Kent. He's still in the game, I'm pretty sure. He was University of Florida strength coach until recently. Anyway, he said if we were not walking to class after breakfast with our hand over our mouth, trying not to throw up, then don't talk to him about you're trying to gain weight. He'd be like, I won't take you seriously. So ultimately, I would walk into my class saying, please, God. Because if you throw up, you gotta skip class and go back.
But that really is the majority of the game.
Yeah.
Like lifting weights is fun.
Yeah.
Like anyone can go lift weights and have a great time doing it, especially like when you're trying to gain muscle mass and like you're just doing a lot of volume of like fun heavy lifting. You're not like conditioning yourself into the ground. Like you're not puking from doing intervals. You might puke from doing sets of 12 back squats, 5-10 sets in a row.
I have. Yeah.
That certainly is a possibility. Like that happened to us routinely right after football season in college. We would have like a hypertrophy phase back when we were doing more of like a linear periodization type model where it was like all volume postseason, and to just regain some weight and put on as much muscle mass as possible for the next season. But like the first couple weeks, every Monday when it was like 5 sets of 10 back squats, then 5 sets of 10 RDLs, et cetera. Then you got lunges and the whole deal. Like those are brutal lower body days.
Yeah,
awesome.
I want to,
but fun.
Yeah. When we talk about nutrition, though, I think there's a bit of a misconception when we talk about the fact that we're eating as much as we possibly can to specifically build strength and put on size, and the fact that some people are going to do that, and where there's a disconnect between like overeating and getting overweight and putting on and getting over fat or putting on bad weight,
which doesn't help anybody.
The fact that we're talking about you should still be eating that many calories, but what does the training look like? So on a nutrition side of things, breaking down what actually needs to go into a macro breakdown and how you eat, how you design a meal for building a lot of muscle and putting on mass, and then why, when you eat that much, then we are actually lifting enough weight to turn it into muscle, and what those training sessions look like. So, Doug, when you're thinking about like the macro side of things of how you eat, I know I have plenty of stories. I don't know if I did it the exact right way, but when I was in like the meatiest part of my training, I would eat 3 pounds of meat a day with a lot of cheese on top and a lot of guacamole on top.
That sounds awesome.
But when I say that to people, they're like, oh, well, how did you not get fat? And they don't realize that, well, I owned a gym. I was waking up super early.
Yeah.
I was training between 90 to 120 minutes a day at the highest intensity, lifting the most weight that I could possibly lift, anywhere from doing like German volume training, 20 rep back squats, CrossFit training, Olympic lifting, all of it, plus the fact that I was in owning a gym coaching 4 to 5 classes a day. So you're at a minimum, we put it when pedometers started coming out, we used to track how much you walked during a single class in a 5,000 square foot gym, and you walk about a mile every single. So not only are you walking around picking kettlebells up and picking weights up and picking barbells up and demoing and running classes and running warm-ups, but then you're also walking a mile every single. So there isn't enough food in those days. So when I say I'm taking a 1 pound meat patty, turning it over on a George Foreman grill and closing it, and that's breakfast, I'm burning that many calories in a day because the training side is so high. But if you were to take kind of like a normal person that's interested in just building muscle and laying out like a macro count per body weight, how do you structure like a protein, fat, carb ratio when you're talking to people?
I mean, I think if you want to go super easy, you can just do 40, 30, 30 and then kind of just see how things go for you. And then
that's 40 protein, 30 fat, 30 carb.
Well, actually, in this example, I was thinking 40 carb, especially for gaining weight. Like, if you're gaining weight, your carb numbers can actually be quite high.
Yeah.
Like, you need to make sure you hit all of your essential fatty acids and essential amino acids. So get enough protein, get enough fat, and then as far as calories go, you can just load on carbs until your calories are high enough where you're actually still gaining weight.
Yeah.
And they're easier to eat.
Yeah,
They're
delicious,
like
right?
right.
They're more fun in a lot of cases.
This is where the carb thing gets really crazy because people freak out about carbs, and I was like carnivore before carnivore was cool because I was just all I had was like ground beef, throw it on the patty. I'm hanging out in the gym all day. It wasn't like I had.
It's hard to get a lot of.
But people
calories like
freak
that.
out
It's
about
hard to get
sugar,
enough.
and it's like if you're putting on weight, sugar can be your best friend. If you're trying to get strong and you got to eat 400 grams of carbs in a day,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
put an
it's-
oatmeal and dump some sugar in on top and enjoy your life.
Right, especially if it's within 2 hours of your training session, either before or after. Like you're gonna preferentially partition those nutrients to go toward muscles and not be stored as body fat if
Yeah.
you're within that time frame of your workout, or
I mean,
more likely than you would be otherwise.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Regardless of who you are, the bottom line is this: if you're trying to gain muscle, you have to be in a caloric surplus. Like when people are like, "I'm going to go and be a caloric deficit and do hypertrophy," I'm like, that doesn't equate. Like it
yeah.
won't happen. Like you have to have something. You have to have the extra calories to make the muscle cells bigger.
Yeah.
So like you have to figure that out. And the easiest way in this, you could easily Google this. You got to find out your basal metabolic rate. You got to figure out, how much activity you're going to have, and then eat more than that.
Yeah.
That's the
And
bottom
as a
line.
general rule, like your maintenance calories are going to be somewhere around your body weight times an activity or a multiplier of like 13 to 15. It's going to be right about your maintenance. So when you're thinking about putting on and building a lot of muscle quickly, you're probably looking at
I think
some
like
17.
18, yeah,
Yeah.
18 to 20, depending on who you are.
And if you
is
look
kinda
at
how I
those
think about it
numbers and
usually.
start playing it out, it's a lot of food that you're going to be putting down. And this is
Enjoy that.
This
though.
is for a person that is like a relatively lean, probably somewhere for males in like the 12 to 15, 16% body fat. Like those numbers are going to be very hard to hit. And really the discipline in your training is showing up to the gym, being 100% committed every single day to lifting as much as possible,
Yep.
putting in the volume work, and you got to eat when you get home, and you got to eat before, and you got to eat because getting to 3,500 calories a day, 4,000 calories a day, and being able to burn that stuff off is the job. Like that is the discipline that goes into building a lot of muscle in over a period of time.
My favorite thing is when people are like, you talk to an athlete and they know they need to gain weight, and they're like, "Look, I'm eating all the time." I'm like, "No, you're not. It's not like it's, that you are an alien and you're burning more calories than some other human. I mean, you just it's math.
Yeah.
So figure the math out and eat more. Like you're lying to yourself. If you're trying to gain weight and you can't, you're not doing the work.
Well, I think a lot of people too, they think they're eating to build, but they don't know what eating means. Like if you're eating 2,000 calories and you're on like the 1-ton challenge plan or the muscle gain challenge plan, you're not doing it.
You're going to struggle.
You need to be your body's in like a starvation mode, so you're probably putting on more body fat than burning the calories and
what you're not doing is gaining muscle. That's for sure.
And if you're going to get strong, you need to up that to. I mean, you don't want to jump right into 3,500, but you need to be going from 2,000 to getting to 2,300, 25, 27, and building that up because your metabolism has to be able to kick in and actually learn how to process the food that's going in.
Right. When you hear guys like us talk about you have to eat as much as humanly possible, eat till you throw up, like that's not a joke specifically, but we're kind of saying it tongue in cheek, like just to give context into how much food you might have to eat to actually make some progress. But that's also said within the context of 3 people that have been trying to gain weight for a long time.
Yeah.
I was doing that for years on end, and so after a couple of years, it's hard to gain those extra few pounds that you're trying to gain, especially like I was talking about football season. Like I only have a short window really to gain weight before it all shifts to like pure. The hypertrophy phase is only so long, and then it's all strength and speed leading up to preseason, your conditioning and the whole thing. If you're right now trying to like lose body fat, your calories have been super low, and like you haven't really been doing a whole lot of strength training, you don't need to go from whatever you're doing right now, 2,000 calories, 1,500 calories, or whatever, like low,
volume.
Low amount of food that you're eating right now, and jumping straight to 5,000 calories, where all of a sudden. You're just fucking bloated and like so full all the time. Like
all you're gonna do is go to the bathroom.
It's not going to be that much more beneficial to add 2,000 calories over what you really need to gain muscle mass. So, crank it up, go to 3,000 calories, stay there for 2 weeks, kind of see how the scale moves, see how you feel, and then bump it, 250 for the next 2 weeks, and then 250 for the next 2 weeks, and kind of build your way up and kind of see what works for you.
Yeah, I think also getting people to recognize that building muscle is like a lagging indicator of all of the food and all the training. It's not like you've been eating 3,000 calories for a month and you're like, why haven't I put on 20 pounds on my back squat? That may be 4-6 months down the road because you have to tune your body into it's time to grow.
Yes.
It takes a little while for the systems to really start to kick in and actually get people strong.
And this all assumes that you're on a training program that makes sense for that goal.
Yeah.
Like if you're just doing if you're going to random CrossFit classes, you can certainly build muscle mass in CrossFit classes and get stronger and get bigger and all that. But it'd be better to have a program that was very specifically dedicated to gaining muscle mass where you're kind of getting in that range of like 10, 15, 20 sets a week of like high quality good sets on the big movements that actually matter, back squats and deadlifts and
which every
pull-ups
block
and
of
what
the
have you.
one-ton challenge has specific there's like a hypertrophy phase every other block.
Yeah.
So we're trying to. I mean, there's only two ways, boys, to get strong. It's like you either get the muscle bigger or you get better at the movement. There is nothing else. You can't. I mean, there are other things that affect it, but there's nothing you can do about it. Your genetics or your genetics. Your connective tissues or your connective tissues. Your fast twitch fibers are your fast twitch fibers. I mean, like, that's your mom and dad's fault.
I specifically wanted to do this show because we have somebody on there. I actually train with them in North Carolina near my house that's doing the one-ton challenge program. And I was like, dude, are you? He asked. He was like, maybe I want to shed some weight. Like, can I do that on the one-ton challenge? I was like, shedding weight is like a function. Well, I would say he's probably in the 18 to 22% body fat. Like, he has weight to lose, but there's like the idea that you can't gain muscle and lose body fat at the same time, which to me is it is correct, assuming somebody is in like a 10 to 12% body fat range.
With that, yeah.
But if you're at 20%, there's no reason you should be building muscle, jacking your metabolism up super high while you're doing all the weightlifting. And then in turn, your body weight is going to come down or you're going to be losing body fat while you do that. It's not like they don't flow together. But I asked him, I was like, well, what is your total caloric intake at right now? He's like, right about 1,900. And I was like, whoa, we got to back that thing down. Like, let's have a better conversation. First off, 1,900 is starving if you're doing the one-ton challenge.
Yeah, there's no way to get strong.
If you're doing the muscle gain challenge, the amount of volume that's in those two programs is like, it's just way too high to be eating that few. So your body's freaking out that it's not getting fed.
Yes.
And now, instead of like, thinking about starving ourselves more to lose more weight and freaking our body out more and putting it more in this like
catabolic state is all you're doing.
What we need to do is go to the other way, and let's go 2,300 for a month. And then in week 6, week 7, we'll be able to go to 2,600 a month or a day. And that way we can start to progressively build our metabolism, process more food, and we'll be shedding body fat because your metabolism is going to be through the roof as you put on muscle.